And good morning, everybody. Welcome. This is LoreForged Live. This is episode 30, gentlemen. 30. And this is the third time we've tried to record this show because technology just didn't want to embrace the weight of 30 episodes. My name is Jibs. I am joined by Sonny.
I feel like my mustache is somewhat responsible for this. Like, I felt like once I shaved off the mustache, things were just so light that the technology was moving at so fast a pace that it just couldn't keep up. Like if a RC controlled car just gets a little bit ahead and then it's like, blah, and it just stops. Yeah. That was mustache related, I feel.
Yeah, you threw off the center of gravity. I really appreciate it if you'd put it back.
Spun out into orbit.
Yeah. And Cash is here.
I still can't believe that you are referring to that spring caterpillar as a mustache.
He had more than you.
It was, you could like count the hairs. That was a 67 hair mustache right there.
Yeah. Luckily your strength doesn't come from your mustache like Samson, because...
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, it certainly does not. The itchiness certainly came from my mustache though. And earlier today I was like, you know what? And this is like truly a testament to me at this point in my life. If something is bothering me for longer than 15 minutes, I am doing something about it, no matter what it is. Like, and that mustache was at 16 minutes and it was done. We were not having it.
I'm shocked it was so itchy so early. Like, that doesn't happen because your body naturally gives, I don't know if you know, Sonny, but I used to have a beard company. And
I do know this, actually.
Your body produces enough oil to its own natural beard oil when it's that short.
And I have heard this a million times, and people talk about going through the phase where it's like, it's a little itchy at first, and then you sort of grow into it and everything. It never ever gets that way for me. Like, I had a beard and I had a mustache for a long time. When I had the full beard, it wasn't so bad, but if I had a mustache, even like months into it still was as itchy as the fifth day. It's just terrible. Like my I don't know what, I feel like I'm growing small shards of aluminum out of my skin. Like, it is just awful.
Oh, that's funny. Cash, you gonna bring yours back?
I think eventually it's going to come back once, for reasons I can't grow the facial hair. Although like Sonny, when I'm not at work, I usually just kind of let this grow out a little bit. And I get to that stage where it gets super itchy. So.
Yeah, but your mustache just becomes glorious. Like, you do the whole twirly thing. And
it does.
Could do curls with dumbbells.
I know. You look like you're going to tie a damsel to a railroad.
look like I'm ready for a match of fisticuffs.
Like you're going to take on Gentleman Jim Corbett in a fisticuffs in 1908.
Oh, man, that's good. Well, welcome in, everybody, to LoreForged yet again. Now, this week on the show, we have been quiet, utterly quiet. We haven't said a word on any of our channels about our opinions on the Commission's Dev update, and that is exactly what we're doing right here on today's episode. But before we get started, Cash, we had some of the esports dev discussion a little bit ago.
We did. We covered. I enjoyed that show a lot, and it seems like the folks who were watching and listening to last week's show about esports really kind of dug it, and there's definitely some very poignant opinions about that. And in regards to this last dev discussion, I was actually really happy to hear them mention a little bit about the esports. And it seems like Intrepid's take on it, they just kind of want to get where people are at with esports, but really what they want to know, the information that they wanted to gather out of that is how can they better support the things that the community is going to do anyways, as opposed to, like, I think Margaret said, oh yeah, we're not going to go buy a stadium and start this esports league, which makes total sense. Like, why they're not going to do anything like that. But she mentioned that during Alpha 1, a bunch of folks had gotten together near a bridge and they were doing like a little 1v1 competition. And she's like, we noticed that stuff and we love that the community is doing stuff like that. So the reason that they wanted that esports conversation to take place is so that they could gather data and figure out, or at least gather feedback, and then figure out what they can do from the development side to support those kind of community created events. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there, but I do know that next week we are going to be covering the next dev discussion, or one that's taking place right now, which is time dedication. And kind of looking forward to this one too, because the way that they put it is, how much time do you think someone should invest in order to become an expert at an MMORPG? What are the differences between an expert player versus a casual player? Time commitment, skill, and game knowledge. And that one also is going to be a loaded discussion. So we're looking forward to discussing that one next week.
Yeah, that's heavy. There's a lot going on with something like that. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, the different sides of it all. People get really hot on this one. You know, there are certain things that are nuclear topics in the MMO world. And I think that we found one. I think that this is one of those ones, JB, where if you put this piece of meat out there, you will have dogs fight over it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because everyone's going to have a different opinion, and probably a passionate one, because truly, this is hard to gauge. It really is. I think when it comes to something like, I don't want to jump in, you know, a week ahead, but, you know, like something like this, like it really depends on the person's life, like their time frame, you know, how busy they are maybe, and how they want to play their games. I don't know, but that'll be fun.
Do you think it has anything to do with the sheer amount of missions that you're running, or how many times you drop from your drop ship down onto a different planet to exterminate terminids or robotic AI? Am I talking about Helldivers 2 again?
I think you are.
Freedom never sleeps.
I'm sorry.
But where am I? Did I black out? I know. What happened?
I blacked out for a second, probably because we were talking about time dedication and how long it takes to become an expert at something. I'm definitely not an expert at Helldivers 2, but I can't stop playing it.
Can't stop diving.
10,000 hours.
Dude.
Oh, that's a sleeper game, huh? My goodness. Woof.
Can you believe that one's only $40? It like came out of the blue, didn't it?
It's the best release of 2024 so far, in my opinion. Just an amazing game. So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked Conniff about this. I asked Conniff about it, and I was like, is this a popular game? And he's like, this is the most popular game.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane about how popular the game is right now. And we were even talking about it last night as we were hell diving. I bet you that development team is in a complete holy shit moment right now. Just going, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Panic.
So what do we do now? 3 hire more people? What is the next step? Or maybe they were ready for it. Maybe they just knew that the game is going to be a hit. But oh my gosh, yeah, like there are very few people out there that are within our gaming circle that we know that play games regularly that are not playing Helldivers 2. It's done really, really well. So I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that for Super Earth in there. Because we were talking about time dedication.
The salute is so good. And they're just looking at the flag. Just
I legit thought they were going to give the middle finger.
And nukes are going off, and there's guts everywhere, and they're just like, super.
Last night we were running missions, and you know how you can be on each other's ship, you know, with your group, and I told the dudes, I was like, hey, I go take care of this or that, so I'll be back soon. Well, the game doesn't log you out. Like, it takes a long time to log you out. So I went in that observation deck on the very front of the ship, right? So I go to the front of the observation deck where you can see space and all the different planets and stuff. And my character's just standing there, and I just do the salute. He does the salute. I legit left my office and came back like 45 minutes later. He's still standing there, just looking at space with his salute. It was beautiful.
Fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, AshesOfCreation, boys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
About that.
We're gamers. We play other games too.
We play games. Oh goodness. So guys, this is one heck of an update. I'm excited that we all get to sit down together and talk about this. The dev update for commissions. I'm really intrigued to get this going, simply because I think all of us have varying opinions on this, and I think it's going to be really fun. So, gentlemen, the dev discussion, the dev update on commissions was out. We all saw the video, and I know for sure Sonny Ravencourt has opinions on this. So, to open up the discussion for pretty much the remainder of the 50 minutes on this episode, Sonny Ravencourt, take it away.
Well, I'm not going to take the next 50 minutes. This isn't a Cash style rant, is it?
Come on, buddy. Too soon. Too soon.
It is one of those moments where I think that the three of us saw the same dev update and had very different opinions on it. And I found it to be really enlightening that, like, so I was streaming this while this thing was going on. I got caught in a little bit late, and then we rewatched it while I streamed, and you heard a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this thing. Largely, it was about questing. It was about questing, how you get the quests, what happens when you're on the quests, how the quests can change and how they're dynamic. And then they threw in some flavor stuff, you know, they threw in the weather, and they threw in minotaurs. And by the way, can't go any further without saying minotaurs look awesome, right? Are we all in agreement that minotaurs look awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Minotaurs with dreadlocks. Hi.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure Jibs probably noticed, but they had this glistening six-pack on that thing. Super broad shoulders.
Dude, yeah. I was looking more at the delts. You see how thick those are? And they're like covered in war paint?
No neck minotaurs, right?
Yeah, I looked at it for a quick second and went, oh, he works out, and looked away. Real quick. I was very nervous.
Can you put it like a mesh shirt on or something?
I know. Could you do me a favor and put on a shirt, bro?
Can't accept this quest until you at least cover up those glorious abs.
See, that guy hasn't had a carb since 1986.
I don't know. He's 100% meat eater. But then, you know, like they went through it, and the quests got dynamic, and you saw his quest log fill up like in a heartbeat, and he's moving around, and before I can even go any further, I'm going to hand this off to Cash, but like my other very first impression was that like a combination of Magneto and Storm that he was rocking there? He had the Magneto helmet and cape look, and then he would rise up like Storm. And I'm like, this is an X-Men game. We're playing an X-Men game at this point.
Oh, that's good.
It was just kind of one of those things. The mage looked like the fluidity of the mage looked great. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was about questing, and that is also the good and the bad for me. Is that for me as a game player, questing is kind of the last thing I'm interested in an MMO, which seems weird, but it's my game enjoyment that comes from other places. It's not ever questing, and so to have a dev update on questing is going to be a tough sell for a person like me. It just kind of was. So, Cash, what'd you think initially?
No, first of all, do you not see the eyebrow raised right? I'm looking at you.
It's
and
coming across. It's above the glasses on the one side.
I'm completely judging you right now. And the reason being is because you just dropped a bombshell in being part of a podcasting content creation team called LoreForged, and you just told me you hate questing.
Yeah, like it really is. Like it's a weird thing, right? I love lore. I love the building of the universe, but the basic go out and kill 10 rats is almost always my least favorite part of any MMO.
But Sonny,
it just is.
Those rats carry diseases. And they need to be
Those rats have a backstory.
Yeah. See, that's the way I'm looking at it. Those rats are people too, right? They have a backstory. The way Sonny's looking at it is that those rats and anything that we do with these commission boards is going to increase the efficacy of that node. It's going to increase the growth of that node. And I love that we can all look at this particular system and all systems in this game from a different eye. right? Like I see more of like, how does this affect the community? How does this affect the lore? And where's this going to show up later? And is there going to be any, cross action questing going on here? Sonny's looking at it through the economy, right? Jibs loves that low hanging fruit with the, go ahead. That's right. The capes. Everybody knows it's always about the capes.
It's just a cape update to him.
Right. Right.
I love I'm being roped into this. Please continue.
I know. I'm actually have my target set on you tonight, so we're going to keep that going.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, some of the things that stood out to me, and I think, I'm going to grab a low hanging fruit here right off the bat, because even from the very start of it, this just does not look like an Alpha 2 game. It really does not. And if they still are yet to put polish on it, the world continues to be beautified and optimized. And I saw even more from the last stream, like maybe the last couple of months streams and stuff. I just see more polish and more beauty being added into the game. The fluidity of the gameplay and stuff really, really stands out to me. When we talk about the commissions board itself, there are certain times, being a content creator and being opinionated about certain things, that you sometimes find yourself stepping back to something that you've disparaged in the past. And one of those things, even though we love it and have spent a lot of time with it, is New World. But New World did do a lot of things really, really good. And one of those things that I think they did is their town boards. I think they did them really well. So as soon as he opened up that board and you see this card style board with all these different things that you can do, I really liked it. Like, I liked the way that the AI looked. It made me very happy that this was familiar. It was pretty, but at the same time, it was very, very simple.
That's a really good point. And on that simplicity, like, and you're right with New World, right? Like, that was one thing that it had, was the town board. And I feel as though, and I was going to wait to make this point way later on. I have never watched a dev update repeatedly. I mean, like, right after the other. I loved it. I couldn't get enough. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning. We're going to scroll a little bit through Instagram and okay, boom, dev update time. And I watched it, again. Could not get enough of this update. You talk simplicity, that was one thing that New World did do well, was the town board. But even then, it felt as though it was like it was like the more, well, people aren't going to get that reference. I was going to say it's like the Morag Tong versus the Dark Brotherhood of what Ashes is doing with the town board.
Oh, there's plenty of nerds in our chat that will understand.
Some people
exactly.
are going to get that reference.
All right, cool. So that to me is the thing. Like, it's like that was like the. Okay, well, I don't want to disparage the game, but it was like a more simplistic style of what Ashes is doing, because in New World, you just had that, like, point A, do this, bring it back. That's it, right? Like, get 10 logs, bring it back. That's what it was. It was simplistic, and it was to the point. And admittedly, when we all first dove in, I loved it. I really did. But Ashes is really like flipping it on its head, where it's incorporating choice. It's incorporating the things that. And this is the point I really wanted to make, was, and this is going to be different for everybody, but like Cash and Sunny, what is the main reason that I have 3 games I want to list, that we kept going back to Skyrim, that we kept going back to KOTOR 1, that we kept going back to KOTOR 2? What was if you had to pick a real reason, what was that why you kept replaying those games?
I think that the Cash, you want to hit this one first, or you want me to go?
I'll hit it real quick, then you can finish it. Okay. Stealth archery.
Stealth. There you go.
I immediately regret my decision.
I was such a dork for that in Skyrim that sealed the deal for me.
Yeah.
I would go back and play the game 10 more times for stealth archery. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
High sneak and high archery.
Yeah.
You can't beat the type of gameplay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think I don't know if you're looking for the same thing, but those 2 games to me had me going back for the same thing delivered different ways, and that is questing.
Yes.
questing was delivered to me in Skyrim in a way that I would wander out into the greater world and the quests would find me and I would become immersed in whatever I was doing because then I felt like I had something to do, but I didn't look for it. KOTOR and KOTOR 2 and SWOTOR and all the OTORs and stuff like that, it is only now as it's coming out of my mouth do I realize that's what's happening there. It's just OTORs. Those games were different to me because those were, I would go talk to the people and they would deliver the quest to me in such a narrative fashion that I became immersed and became invested in what it was. So it was both questing, but I feel like they were delivered to me in different packages, which made them great in their own sense. But it was questing. I mean, that's what those games did great.
I'll give you the actual answer as opposed to my parody answer. I think a lot of it does kind of circle back to what Sonny was saying. The biggest thing for me, I think, with a game like Skyrim was the fact that you could go in any direction. You just pick a direction. When you leave town, you pick any direction and you are going to run into something to do. You're going to run into an interesting mob that you haven't seen before, that you're going to wonder if you could take that mob down. You're going to run into a damsel in distress that you could potentially help. You're going to run into any number, a cave delve, something that you can do and explore, right? And I think that was probably the biggest thing that kept me coming back to that game, was just trying to complete those things and be able to say that, yeah, like I either 100%ed that game because I found all these things, or you just know that if you head in a direction that you haven't been before, you're going to run into something like that. Interesting. And I think that Ashes is adding that type of gameplay. Like, you look at the questing that was in there. You don't only have the commission quests, right? He just barely got out of town and a little thing pops up that was a really nice little animation that gave him an alert for a side quest. A pale, hornless minotaur idling nearby beckons to me. And that's like classic RPG style flavor for an action that took place right in front of you in the world from what your character visualizes and experiences. He sees this minotaur and he decides that minotaur's like beckoning him over. And he was.
Yep.
He was.
Yep.
So that's an example of, you're on a commission quest going in a certain direction for something, and you run into a side quest. And that's not even a story arc quest. But the beauty of it is, the way that they're building this is that all three of those things, the commission that you took, the side quest you ran into, both of those things tie into the main story arc of the area somehow. So based on your player actions, the world is going to react and spawn different monsters, or, you know what I mean? Like, that is world immersion. That is bringing the world that you are playing into life.
That's exactly it. You both are saying the same thing, just without using the same word, and that is choice. You chose when you got in Skyrim to go that way, to go into that delve, to go be that archer, to do that thing, because you had the freedom to do so. We played KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 repeatedly because of the choices you would make in those quests would give you a result. And you wanted to see, what happened if I didn't choose option 3? What happened if I didn't kill that NPC, right? Your choices. And ultimately, after all these years, we're finally seeing that placed in an MMO where you have choice and the effects of those choices. Now, granted, you could say, well, SWOTOR had that, yes, but it was way more structured. This is way more open, because now you're not only affecting your personal story like you were in SWOTOR. No, you and the other choices from other players are absolutely affecting the entire world. For the very first time, I feel like, in the MMO space, we're seeing a game incorporate the things that we love from old school RPGs as now part of the core MMO experience, which I feel like has not been done. I got a sense when I watched this, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the result. this is the result of picking that what started out as a small adventure at the commissions board turned into this thing where he ended up, over talking to the Minotaur, ended up working through this whole thing. It started like as the top of a skill tree and it just went out based off his adventure, off his choice. And that to me is what really stands out just as amazing, because the game is built around this. So this is one of many, many, many times, many, many experiences that we'll get to enjoy. Is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious, and it's one of those things where I've been fooled before. I was fooled like everyone else was with No Man's Sky about the choice in the game and everything like that. And it turns out that they were giving us a highly, highly curated video instead of gameplay. That was definitely not the case when I watched Steven run around being chased by 100 mobs by accident.
Oh, dude, the guy is an aggro magnet.
Like in no way did I thought, well, this was curated and well planned out. I thought, like, there were so many people like, oh God, oh no, oh what? No, don't, no, stop it. And it was just an endless stream of like a catastrophe after catastrophe. But I am kind of curious about some of those choices. The decisions to go see the side quests. This was brought up a couple times in the chat, and I think that Koala actually was the one that put a pin on it, was that the side quests looked more interesting than the commissions. And I agree with that. I think that when you got out in the world, you had this job that you knew you had to do in order to fill this commission, but you got out there and it started looking interesting. You had a Minotaur that's like, hey, over here, I got like a thing, can you help me with the thing? And pretty soon you're down this rabbit hole of thing after thing after thing that's led you through this. And so those choices, I'm really kind of looking for that. I think a lot of people are looking for that. They want an MMO that lets you have meaningful choice. I just don't, like, I am still at the point where I just don't know if my brain can comprehend how that will actually look with 10,000 concurrent players making choices at the same time. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Right? How do you reconcile a universe where everybody's making choices? It seems so hard to wrap my brain around. But one of the things when you were talking about effects, as soon as they got into a certain place, the weather changed. That was super awesome. Yeah. I was really excited about that. And that was a direct effect of you attacking storm callers or whatever they were called. They were, this is what they did. And so the whole thing changed in there. And I found that to be very interesting. Like, what happens if you don't attack them? Does the weather still change, or do you like get through the area without it happening? There's just a lot of questions like that. It was really interesting, but I would agree that the commission to get out there was the least important part, I thought, of the questing experience. Once they got out there, then the fun began.
Yeah, that's how I played Sea of Thieves a lot too. Like, whenever we step into, like, my kiddo and I, whenever we step into that game, he goes, "What do you want to do, Dad?" And I said, "You know what? Let's just see where the wind carries us." And ultimately, we get in this massive adventure. And honestly, I really see that in Ashes. Like, did you guys read those cards by chance? That on the commission board, the one that hit me in the feels was "Rest well, furry friend," and we actually got some lore on the portal, and it said, quote, "Something killed my dog." Wasn't a useful beast, but it was one of the few things I brought through the portal. Needless to say, I'm sore about it. Would be happy enough to pay to hear he's been avenged, right? Like, it's just, you go start doing something like that to go avenge your dog. Where do you end up? What does that look like? 15 and 20 choices down the line. Like, that's the part that I think is really exciting.
It's interesting that you said that, because, and I'm going to totally shameless plug this thing, but I read one today and I was so excited because I missed it initially. And it was the quest on the board that said, breach, bark, and bite. Seek and slay Slippy Mudfoot. So, and the quest text is this: "It has breached the gates of many Riverland settlements, including Lionhold. The reasons for his actions are unknown, but surely he tests defenses for a greater assault." Reminds me 1,000% of the Baron Chef video that I just put out. Like when I read it, I went, "Oh my God,
That's it.
this is so close to it." And I want to throw this out there as a disclaimer. Like, we released that Baron Chef video the day after this thing, this went down. The day after we saw this dev update, right? But there's zero chance of me doing a video in like 12 hours.
No, you had that done the weekend.
Oh, it was done the weekend before. But like, to read this, I went, "Oh my God," like I felt like I had a connection with somebody who's writing this stuff, because like this is exactly the type of sense of humor that I have and try and put in like into some of our content. And this is exactly how they're writing this stuff. I loved it. I didn't take the time the first time I watched this. I've watched this video 3 times now. The last time I really started to look at all the minute little details. And if you don't take the time to read some of the stuff that they're putting in here, you're gonna miss the love and the craft that they're putting into this game. And it doesn't just go into the systems and the quest text and all that stuff. It is at the heart of where even like the writers are at with this stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to mention is the activity maps in the area. And we talked a little bit about it, but the way I'm understanding this is internally in the system, there are like these overlaid, like, you know, they talked about like those hot zone areas that they have where they can watch the heat map in an area to see how hot things are happening and maybe shift around like the way quests and world events trigger, you know, what predicates that you have to make based off of the activity in the area. And, you know, just like Sonny was talking about different activities in different areas and how they can spawn certain things and how things can change, like weather. And to have that based off of that player choice, if you have a lot of players making the choice to quest in those certain areas, those predicates are going to be met quickly. And then those events are going to start cycling through and progressing the story arcs of the node. And I love the way that works. And I just don't remember many other games that have MMOs anyway, that have mechanics like that. And I know for a fact that Guild Wars 2 had something similar because you had to move the stories along in order for different events to take place in the world. But the way that Ashes is doing it seems so much more dynamic to me in the way that things move.
I think that MMOs in the past, like, you have to think about what kind of processing that takes. Like, what kind of computers does it take to make these kind of things dynamic like that? It is legit possible in my mind that that technology just didn't exist until now. Like, now we are on the verge with AI and everything of making actual dynamic changes based off of information faster than we ever have. And I know that that's like goes without saying, right? Like, of course we're faster than we ever have, but we're really on like a point of artificial creativity. And I think that kind of processing capability makes a game like this possible, and it makes things like this possible. And that is one of the things that when I saw the video, when I saw the questing, there were certain things that I wanted to see more than what I actually got, because they were right on the edge of the things that I was really curious about, and I didn't get them. And one of those things was they talked about dynamic weather and things like that, and dynamic seasons. And they even mentioned like that's one of the animals that can change depending on the season and weather and things like that. And that is a system that I am extremely excited about. So I was really hoping that we would get that kind of thing. We got a little bit of it by having people behave differently in different weather systems. I thought that was pretty cool. I would like to see more of that. And frankly, I'd like to see whether or not players can have that kind of dynamic, you know? That's not out of the realm of possibility for an RPG type of game, that when it's raining, you do better or worse. You know, it would be really interesting to see that kind of stuff go, because it just builds a better lore story for your character. You know,
What did somebody say, lore?
It provides more depth, right? Like we're all looking for that kind of stuff. And
Right.
so there was more than a few opportunities, I thought, within the stuff that we were getting to just go into that next thing. And it reminded me, frankly, a lot of the caravan thing. On the first caravan update, when we saw that, we were like, oh, but what about this and this and this and this and this, right? And I get that they can't show everything, but then they did another caravan update and we got to see like most of those things. I felt like they hit like 80% of the questions that we had the first time.
Right.
So I wonder if we won't see some of those other systems. Like I'd love a seasonal system. I'd love to see how, things become more dynamic, more dynamic with those kind of changes that are going on.
Yeah, I think that's the future of MMOs now. It can't be, if the future of MMOs is only quest, you could do it for BGs, you hit max, you do raids or BGs, new expansion, more questing, you know what I mean, to max, raids or BGs. That's how the MMO genre becomes stale and slowly dies. Like I think this right here, and I'm pointing, I'm like watching the dev update on mute as we're talking. This right here to me is the future of MMOs. I think it has to be. There has to be games that are willing to take a chance. And I'm not saying Ashes is the end all be all. Let me be very clear. But there has to be MMOs that have to take a chance to push the genre forward into uncertain ground and to places that hasn't, really been seen. And Cash, I know we've played many a game, and like here we are, we're seeing all these new things added, and it's just like, this is something we've never played.
I'm really kind of hoping that Ashes is the end all be all. I mean, at least for us three, we're a little freaking committed at this point, boys.
Yep, we're in it. We're in it.
I'll agree with you, and I do think that this is the future of MMOs. I really do, and I think that with the advances that AI has taken, I know it's such a hot topic. Maybe a little bit less so with folks like us who are kind of in the digital world, and a lot of the things that we love to play and do, they're all like really have a lot of AI in it. I would like to see some smart AI coming into this, and I don't believe that everything is truly there, although I love exactly what I was seeing for the most part with a lot of this stuff. I think there's some areas that we could improve in a little bit, at least with some of the things that I personally was seeing. Some of the things that I loved, the quests, all those quests that you take are shareable in a group. I think that's fantastic. So if you're in a group, you can share any type of quest. I really did like seeing, and this kind of plays into a little bit with the player choice, is the quests. Some of the quests actually have options for your response. I don't know. It probably takes you to the same place eventually, but you could see, when he was talking to the Minotaur, he had like 4 or 5 options for him to talk about. And I kind of like that. One thing that they were talking about too is you can't kill quest giving NPCs, which, excuse me, I think that's fantastic design, and it kind of like squashes things that griefers like to do. Kill your quest NPCs so you can't progress your quest. That's a super low move. So I was pretty happy to see that in there. I don't know. I'm excited to see where they take the questing and how it improves, because I think that everything that we saw here is a very good foundation from which to build upon.
Yeah.
I don't want that to sound terrible, but I think, and I'm sure we're going to talk about them, but I think that there's a few areas that could be improved upon, but this is an alpha game. We have a lot of time to go.
JB, I have a question for you. So one of the things that I noticed was that when you got one of these commissions, it didn't tell you where exactly it was. It gave you a pretty good area, and then you'd go there, and they talked quite a bit about the design of that to send you to this area, and then that way they could get you in the area of new opportunities for you and things that would develop off of that. What did you think of that particular design?
So Say that again. So like you start.
So like in a lot of games, when you get a particular commission or a quest or something like that, it will ping it exactly on the map. Here it is. In this game, it generally told you. So in my world, there's like 3 options, right? You have the hardest core version where it's like east of the Everglade Mountains, south of where the sun sets behind the so-and-so. And you're like, for F's sake, I have no idea where this is. And you immediately go on the internet and find it on a YouTube video, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the opposite end of that, which is a lot of times Warcraft, which is, this dude is here. Right. He is right here.
Yeah.
And this was like halfway in between.
Yeah.
And they said that they did it on purpose to get you in the area so that you didn't go beeline right to the guy. You kind of saw what was out there.
I think that's a good happy medium. Truthfully, like I liked, so when I went back and I was playing Classic a little bit, one of the things that stood out to me was, hey, guess what? There are no quest, giver. Like it does not tell you he's right here, like you're saying, and you can even watch on the map and watch him move, and his path and the icon would move in retail, And so like I was playing Classic and it was the old school days where all you had were the directions, that were given to you. There was, like you were saying, there was no like right here. And so the fact that Ashes is kind of taking a good middle ground stance, I think that that's probably it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I think that it's a good happy medium for people who, like me, like I would really like to play a game that has as little as possible and just allow me to go out into the world, adventure and find it and learn the world while going versus like, he's right here, right here, so I like,
because you know what you're gonna do when that happens.
Exactly.
Right?
It eliminates all sense of exploration, all sense of adventure when like the boss of bosses is right here over this river hanging out below the bridge. Oh, he's moving right now. So just, yeah.
But that's why I like wandering bosses like Tumok.
Yeah.
You're not sure if you're hunting Tumok that particular night, you're not exactly sure where he's going to be. And I think it's interesting that you said, is a really good term that you put, that Intrepid's going some middle ground with some of this, because I am with you in that I like a little bit more challenge in finding where my quest location is. I actually like having to go back to quest text and read my journal and go, oh, okay, southeast of such and such location, just behind the frugal binders and the lawn animals. Okay, that's where it's at. And then you head over in that direction and you go, as opposed to having a freaking pin right there. But playing devil's advocate, we are experienced MMO players. So we look for that additional challenge in our gameplay. Where do you draw the line with newer players or newer people that we want to bring to MMOs? We want MMOs to be popular, right? We certainly want AshesOfCreation to be popular and successful. Where do you draw the line at the difficulty on something like that, in having the people like us who've played a lot of MMOs keep us happy, and then keep the people who are brand new to MMOs that maybe don't understand that challenge yet?
I think that's the line they're walking. And I like that they're choosing to walk that line, because I think you're right. You want to move the genre forward, well, you got to bring an audience too at the same time. And so just finding that happy balance, I think that in the words of Mandalorian, this is the way.
This is the way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they did I brought that up because it was one of my favorite things about it was like, that's a good system. That's a well thought out system. You're going to send me in this direction. You're not going to let me wander east when I need to go west, which, by the way, I'm streaming Kingdom Come Deliverance on our channel until Ashes comes out, like as one of the games that I stream, and I have it on hardcore mode. And so I can't fast travel anywhere, and I have no cardinal directions. So I'm like traveling by the sun and roads and a map. And I don't know about you, but there's something hardwired in my brain wrong that makes me have an incredibly difficult time with cardinal directions, east and west. And I have gone east when I wanted to go west so many times, and I end up in a town I did not intend to. That's the hardcore thing that we as like 40-year-old gamers are okay with. probably right that newer gamers are not going to dig that. So this system of like, it's over in this area, go over, see what's going on over there. I like this a lot. I thought it was a perfect mix between, you know, the hardcore and the cell phone, right? Like it just worked for me. And there are some things these guys do that just work.
Right. Let me ask you guys this. So this is a little bit of a turn, but what did you guys think about the variety of rewards that were given? So like as he was going through this quest chain, which just spawned from this picking the commission board, which was so stinking cool, and kind of fleshed out this whole tree of questing that he ended up doing. What do you guys think about how you can unlock things specifically for, like in this case, it was the Minotaurs. If they were to see this all the way through, you were then getting things that you would only get by doing this.
I was pretty happy with that. I got to be honest, at the beginning, and one of the things that I am a little bit worried about is that a majority of the stuff that you're doing out there in the world, you're just getting freaking glint. That's going to get super old if that's the case. And a lot of that stuff that were rewards for commissions was like, yeah, you get a few coin and you get some glint. So I hope that variety does get increased a little bit. So when in the middle of the video, or at the beginning of the video, then you actually get out into the world and the devs start explaining these things that you can get specific to the Minotaurs. And I just went, bing, okay, here we go. Let's see what these things are. So a couple of things were rare crafting reagents, which is fantastic. Like I'm all about that. And then recipes. And then Steven was like hovering over the Stormcaller's axe, I think, which on one of them was misspelt. And I think he caught that midstream. It said Stormcaller's axe. And he's like, this is Stormcaller's axe.
That's the leader of the Stormcallers.
I got a little chuckle out of that. But when I saw that, it made me happy that, okay, that makes sense that a Minotaur who's probably a crafter has a recipe that he's willing to share with an adventurer who's willing to help him out. Hey, you want a really kick-ass axe? Here's a little recipe on how to make it. If you wander around here, you can get a lot of the stuff you need for it. That is in-universe, immersive. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so opinionated on this particular thing because it's immersion breaking for me. And I know they're not doing this, but I don't want to pull a sword out of the rear end of a wolf. I don't want that unless I stuck it there. I don't want to pull it out and go, oh, look, a sword. And it doesn't seem like they're doing that. You're going to get pelts. You're going to get, meat, stuff like that. So I like the realism that they're putting into it. I just hope there's some variety there too. See what I mean? So there's like a very short little window of things that I'm willing to be happy about. Even though, you don't get me wrong, I'm not a complainer. I'm not a whiner. I'm gonna play this game regardless. But it would be really good to have some good variety in the things that they do give you, and they are pointing us in that direction. But that's what they're doing.
I killed this fox and got a 4-foot box shield. He must have been riding around on it or something.
It's a magic sled he was using.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's so good.
I mean, you bring up a very interesting point here that I hadn't really considered, in that if the whole economy is built around glint and not dropping swords, then are you gonna get bored when you're only getting glint? It's an interesting question. I had not really considered that because I've been thinking so heavily about the economic impact on these kind of things. But I think that's something that can only be answered with testing. I think that's going to be something that will only be answered when we go into the Alpha 2 together and we do quest after quest after quest and we get glint after glint after glint. Are we going to feel like, it's like, geez, would it kill you to drop a pair of pants? I get that I got to take the glint. Now I got to take the glint and get the pants and then drive the pants to the next place to get the better money from the pants. And I get it. It's a whole system. But
glint just reminds me of glitter. Every time I hear the word, I'm just like, oh, look, I got glitter.
Don't open
Jazz hands.
Don't open that glint in the car.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's get down to brass tacks. Okay. So we are professionals, except for when like all our microphones turn off at the same time, and we have to restart the show. But we are professional MMO players. We have played many years of MMOs, and so when you have a development update like this, and it is about questing, we have played MMOs that have questing. They've all had questing. Every MMO we've played has had some variation on questing. So what I want to ask you guys is, what, JB, watching this, did you think, that's okay, but I would like to see this improved? Did you find anything like that watching this?
That's an interesting question. Okay. So for all the things that I really loved is like I saw that were improved upon. We saw and I don't know the name of the spell, which, by the way, I love the fact we saw the mage because I've really been missing a mage just in general. And the fact that that's what they were playing, I'm like, oh, thank you. But
looked great too, right?
Yeah. I mean, like the orb spell, that we saw updates to that. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that.
Yeah.
But that orb spell with the lightning crackling inside looked crazy good. And it has been updated. We saw a mini map that saturation's been tuned up. So now you actually see color on that mini map, You're seeing all these, and by the way, did you guys pick up on, this is one last praise before I get my critique. Did you guys pick up on the lightning strike ability where he raises into the air?
Storm.
Yeah.
Dude, it's Force Storm. That is 1,000% Force Storm from SWOTOR and KOTOR days.
Were you here at the beginning of the show?
So anyway, we're looking for a new co-host for LoreForged. Turns out Cash.
Turns out Cash just got fired.
We lost Cash. I don't know. His mouth is moving. We can't hear him anymore. I don't know.
Is he here? No. But I think my critique, truthfully, and this is very nitpicky, I'll be upfront 1,000%. I want to be able to have that world map bigger. More than just that little box. Let me have that thing go to the full size of the screen so I can just immerse myself a little bit more into this from like a top-down view of the world that we saw, because of what we saw was very very small in my opinion, and just boxy. And this is a personal thing too. Like, this may not be the grand overall feel of everybody. I get it. But for me, like, if there was any nitpick for me, I think I would love to be able to have that world map just a little bit bigger.
Is that like from a UI standpoint? Like,
yeah. And maybe you can. I don't know. I haven't tested it.
Resizable period would be fantastic, because imagine if you could have your little mini map and then just like resize that one a little bit smaller and put it in another spot for a particular area that you're trying to get to or go to. That'd be unbelievably great.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that was really
is there anything
me.
more MMO than like the personal feel of your layout of where you want to put things?
Oh, yeah.
Like that is just so MMO. Every player wants things in certain places and certain sizes. And if you try to play somebody else's UI, it's like putting on your kid's shoes or something. Like, it's just immediately wrong.
Yeah.
They're like, what has happened here? Like, this does not feel right at all. So yeah, I mean, I agree with Cash. I don't know if you noticed this in the chat earlier on, but somebody said no add-ons, and about 17 people signed on to that. They do not want add-ons. Add-ons are like another controversial topic, but resizing your own UI and moving things around, I would absolutely love.
Make it native. It's got to be native.
Yeah.
These devs are very talented devs. This is a dev team and an administrative management team over there that is MMO players. It's obvious for the folks that he hires, right? They are MMO players. They're very intelligent. They're very smart. They know what they like. They know what add-ons can bring to the game. So pick the best things, the best features that add-ons would provide, and make them native to your UI, please. And thank you, because I know you're going to do it.
Yeah,
absolutely know it's going to happen.
Cash, what do you got for something you'd like to see a little bit better?
So I have a few things here, and I want to just overhead lob this and say that for a dev discussion that was about questing, right? A dev update that was about questing. That can't be super interesting. But I was very impressed. I was very happy to see the things that I saw. I was very happy to see the improvements, the small little improvements to the game, all the little details. Chat's been going nuts about it, but oh my God, the cleric res animation, blew me away. If you haven't seen it, go to like 20 minutes into the Alpha 2 Commission's preview. Just watch it. It's absolutely glorious. It's beautiful. So that I loved that. I love the UI. I love the way that everything is looking. Combat is looking fun. It's looking like things are challenging for solo players, even though Steven gives me a little bit of anxiety when I watch him play. We talked about the weather effects, just lights out, fantastic. I really enjoy these things anyway, you guys. I'm a dork about this stuff. All three of us are. We get very excited about things like this. So they did a really, really good job. That being said, I do have a few things that I think, and yes, these are very minor things, but they're things that I think in this day and age, in the building of an MMO with the technology that we have now, these things should be pretty easy to handle. The first one and the biggest one, I only have two. The first thing and the biggest one I think that I have is I would like to see NPCs be a little bit more alive. I don't like games that are on rails, and I'm not insinuating that the game is on rails at all. This is a big open world game. But it seemed like, and maybe it was just the video and they were doing it for the auspices of the presentation value, but it seemed like it was just like from point 1 to point 2, and the NPCs just happened to be right there along the route. And they're standing there, like one of them standing there and he's like waving. I would like to see NPCs doing more natural things. Maybe he hits up an NPC that's in the middle of hunting something, or is bent down trying to light a fire, or is crafting something, or kneeling, or working, or cooking, or fishing, something. Make it more lifelike other than an NPC just standing on the road, on the route that the pet player is probably going to take, just waiting for them to arrive. Is that a ticky-tacky ask? Yeah, it kind of is. But in this day and age MMOs and immersion for what we're trying to do here with this game, I think that would be a really, really cool touch. Another one, this one just happened to just pop out to me. It's not a big deal, but for players that immersion is a thing, the fact that you can walk right up to a whitetail and he just like lazily passes in front of you, that could use a little realism. New World did this with their elk that they had in the game. You would get to within a certain range and they wouldn't attack you, but they did have an aggro range and they would bail like, I'm out. So one of the things I want to do with my archer, with my hunter, my ranger type character is hunt animals. So if you have some larger game like that, or game that would normally spook, it would be really cool to have smaller critters and deer bail when you get close. Like they bust out of there and you spook them and they run. And it would add the element of hunting to the game. So I know these two things are relatively small, but like, I don't know. Do you think is it too much of an ask? You think I'm being too ticky-tacky? Like if I'm pointing these things out, you guys, I'm pretty happy with this thing.
Yeah.
No, I think that those are good, and I really like what you said about the spooked animals, because that provides life to an area, right? Like if I can walk right up to the squirrel and hit him on the head with a mace, it's not really how squirrels work, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. If you get that close to a deer, that deer lives in the suburbs and not in the woods.
Yeah, it's especially like a freaking 15-point buck. Those things get 15 points because they're very elusive and smart.
Yeah.
Not because they walk right in front of you and like, sup.
You're right, though.
They're not waiting for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, though. Like, Red Dead Redemption 2 was that way. Yes, I get that was a single-player RPG. And I'm glad you brought up New World, because that was a challenge. And do you remember how satisfying it was, Cash, when you would hunt an elk and you'd actually get one? And you're like,
Right.
oh, because they're so elusive, and it really made the world feel alive, and it was just a nice ad. So yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong at all for those.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to bring up real quick is Penumbra in chat. This is a great point. Some of this, like on the 2Muck video, some of the spiders that you walk by will act like they rear up like that.
Oh,
That's the kind of shit I'm talking about, right there.
Right.
It's there. It's there. And maybe the thing with the deer and the, you know, animations for NPCs, maybe doing some different things. We are still very, very early in this development process. So these are things that could be added over time. They may or may not be there in Alpha 2. They may or may not be there in the later testing phases of the game. Maybe they're added in as time goes along, and that is totally great, as long as those immersive things, those little things that can be done in what I think is a short amount of time, could really add some immersion to the game. So that's where my head's at with all this stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I used to play a game called Medieval Dynasty, and it was one of those things, and Watara brought it up, where you'd shoot at the deer, and the deer would bolt, and you'd shoot at a deer that was near a boar, and the boar would charge you. It was the angry boar. And so
I love it.
Like, and that makes sense, right? Like that's the kind of logic that you can program into something like this, and it makes the world feel alive. You're like, oh no, a boar. Like,
yeah, and it puts a mini game into the game. Like, you know how many hunters you would just completely stoke if you did something like that, because that could be a big part of their game. A big part of my game I want to play is I want my ranger hunting animals and getting some of the best pelts and skins there are. And that would add a mini game to my game. I would lose hours doing that.
Oh, it would be fantastic. It would absolutely provide a game within a game for people.
Yeah.
Kind of like fishing, right? Like some people are like, oh, this is the best fishing game. And they will break down every MMO to have fishing and what was good and what was bad about them, right? The same thing could be applied to hunting. For me, my criticism on it is much the same as Cash's, but just a little bit different. It felt crowded. The thing felt really crowded. Like there was just too much going on in too small a space. Like what Cash said, whereas you do the one thing and they're like, well, you need to go, talk to Bob. I'm like, where's Bob? Well, he's about 30 yards. He's right there. And you see Bob. He's like, hi.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Hey,
why didn't you just tell me? Or why isn't Bob not here? Right? Like everything was just a little bit too close for me. And when I play an MMO that touts itself, like this one does, about the vast spaces that they have, then I should feel like there's some space. I felt like in the dev update that they were just on top of everything. There was just monsters and mobs around every corner. And maybe that was just me. And maybe that was just this zone. Maybe it's just a crowded zone. Maybe the Minotaurs just are, really friendly people that like to live on top of each other. But that was kind of my feel about it. As far as like a criticism. Now, a lot of my criticism just comes in the way that I thought that this dev update was a little different from the other ones. But it's hard for me to really not complain, but like actually have professional criticism of something like this, because I didn't think it was mechanically that bad. I will say this: New World has an almost identical board system to this. And when I did the stream, some people said that they believed that New World took this from Ash's early development. And I was like, really? Well, that's a twist. Now, I don't know how much truth there is to that or not, but you cannot deny that the two systems look very similar.
Yeah.
Whether the mechanics work the same way or not, whether there's going to be more boards and what the boards do is kind of irrelevant to me. It's a board system to get quests to get you out there. And I did like that you could have different like tiers of quests. So you kind of knew if you were going out for like a walk in the park or if you were going out and there was a chance you weren't coming back. That was pretty good. Yeah, my biggest criticism was it just felt very crowded to me.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if New World sniped that early on in development.
It just feels like it's possible.
It feels very plausible, very possible.
But where would they have seen that?
from the early development with Ashes.
Yep.
Was a lot of that stuff was like very open, and Ashes has had a very open development cycle for a lot of this stuff. So that kind of stuff, it is possible, I guess. I don't know.
Employees talk too, think about it. In between projects,
I just
friends
don't
between
know,
companies.
right? Like,
never know.
Who knows?
Yeah. All right. So as we move to close, gentlemen, we did this last time and it was fun just to hear your all takes. Let's do an overall thoughts and ratings out of 10 on this review. Cash, I'm going to you first.
Overall thoughts and ratings. I'm very happy with the direction of this. There's quite a few features that I really, really did enjoy about this particular dev update. So I'm going to go with an 8. Leave some room for improvements. There's not a whole lot to improve, but I just think that the direction is really good. An 8's really good coming from me, just so everybody knows. I'm very happy with this one in particular.
Okay, Sonny?
I am going to go a little bit lower than that. I'm going to give this a 7. And a 7 for me is like a C, okay? And a C is fine. A C is fine. It's not bad. I don't want anyone to think it's bad. I just wasn't that interested, and I thought they could do more with it. Like, here's an example. At the end of the whole thing, they did all this stuff, and they're like, and then look, the node is improving. And you see like this thunderstorm in the distance, and I'm like, is the thunderstorm in the node improving, or is the thunderstorm something that happens when the node improves? And what is happening? I want to see that. Like, I got all excited about that. And then, some of the stuff, like I mentioned, well, some of these animals change with the seasons. I want to see that, And so the quest thing was okay. This was not a dev update for me, right? This was not my dev update. But I'm going to read you a line from Chief Koala here, because he said it when I was streaming, and I thought he encapsulated it better than I ever could. And he said, everything we see is something that is actually in the game and not a promise. So even though this wasn't amazing, I'm glad I saw it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that is very, very good. That is a poignant and deep thought, and it is well said, because everything we saw in there means that that's where we're at. And where we're at is a good place.
Yeah.
Shoot. That means I might get replaced on the show with Chief Koala. Realize who's on the chopping block here, you guys. I know it.
Yeah, that's really well said. For me, it's a 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for me. This for me was the first time I felt as though I got a sense of feeling like what the game will feel like when I play it. I got a sense of a natural gameplay loop for many players, for me included. This resonated with me a lot because oftentimes because of work, I may be on at odd times, really early. I'm talking like 5 or 6 in the morning, or maybe like later in the evening when it's prime time, but like just and spotty. And so for me, like, this is exactly how I could see my gameplay loop going. And it was nice to kind of see that firsthand. And on top of that, this is 100% just for me. Again, seeing the mage again, because I've really been craving it. In fact, I've been fighting leveling one in Warcraft. Seeing the mage again in Ashes and seeing the updates was great to see for me. So I love the board system. I love how it gets you out into the world. I love your guys' critiques. I think that could really help it as well. And overall, I think it's definitely a 10 out of 10. I loved it. I really did.
That's super believable. It really is. Based on how our week went behind the scenes, Jib's a little pressed for time with work, but in the evenings, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but he sent us a screenshot of him like watching this thing multiple times on your big screen, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And how many times did you watch the entire thing?
So far, at least 4.
There you go.
And that was all the same day almost.
Yeah. And I think you texted both of us and you were just like, I'm watching this again.
Yeah, you were excited.
Yeah, so that makes total sense to me that you loved it, but I love the perspective that you took where, Sonny's critical about certain things, I'm critical about other things, but you saw it in the light of this is how my gameplay loop is going to look. And you're right, it did give us all a good sense of what like solo gameplay is going to be. You're just running around the world doing your thing.
Yep.
And yeah, man, I really respect that opinion. I don't respect Sonny's as much because he's so critical.
Oh, that's so good.
But yeah, Jibs, I really respect your opinion.
Oh, thank you. Oh, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to LoreForged. Don't forget, next week, we're going to be covering the latest dev update on time dedication. So make sure that you send us an email, send us a voicemail. We'd love to see our voicemails fire up again on something like that. That'd be fun. So anyway, you can always call us 516-875-1776. And of course, you can always email us loreforgedhq@gmail.com. And don't forget, before you finish the episode, whether it's in the YouTube comments or on your podcast app of choice, let us know how we're doing. We would really love to hear your feedback. Are you enjoying LoreForged? Like, oh, you guys should do this. We'd love to hear your perspective. So please take a moment, whether YouTube comment section or just on a podcast app, and leave your review. Sonny.
You can go to loreforged.com and find links to all of our Ashes of Creation content. That is the link tree over there, including YouTube, where we have another video from the Varen Chef, old Sneakfoot. It is Sneakfoot, right? I didn't confuse that with the whatever terrifying monster was coming through on the quest board. The Varen Chef is Cash's cooking show in universe in Vera, and it is fantastic. I highly recommend you check that out and leave him a comment on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitch, where we are streaming. We're doing the show live right now on Twitch, but we also stream during the days, and that is becoming a more regular thing as time goes on. So definitely check that out, twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ. And then finally, Patreon. Our last episode was exclusive questions provided by our patrons, who get all of our stuff early, as well as our special behind-the-scenes show, The State of the Owl. All of that is available on patreon.com/LoreForgedHQ Cash.
Friends, come join our Discord community. It's actually turned into a really fun time, and we're making a lot of friends. And as of the last couple of weeks, we're playing a crap ton of Helldivers 2 with a lot of our friends that we've made right here in the LoreForged community. So come on in and have a good time with us. If you enjoy games, you just want to come and talk Ashes, our community is open to you. I'd like to welcome some new Discord members. We have a very warm and hearty welcome to Deliverance, Abarat's Work Alt, which made me laugh. Thought that was pretty damn funny. Raven Rose, Metallic Merrick, and Chivalry Bean, which equally made me laugh. Some of these names, you guys, you're cracking me up. If you're interested in the social medias, follow us on X. You can follow Jibs at JibsIRL, myself at Cash Quests, Sunny at U of Coruscant, and don't forget to follow the show for all of our announcements of all the things that we're doing, including when we go live. And you can find that at LoreForged HQ. Jibs.
Oh, you're done.
That was a transition.
Oh,
It's coming back to you.
wow. I didn't. Yeah, thanks for the pass. I'll watch it sail over my head.
You are a professional. Pay attention to your co-host.
You're like a receiver that gets tagged in the side of the head with the football while he's running around.
Yeah, I'm not used to that kind of direct transition from him. Threw me up for a minute. I thought he was going to make a point or make fun of me or something. I don't know. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you all. And hey, come join our community. Like Cash was saying, we would love to meet you. Gaming is so much better with friends. It's way better than gaming alone. We would love to hang with you. Have a wonderful week in gaming. We love you. We'll see you. Stay safe next week right here on Lore Seekers. Wow, LoreForged.
Wow.
Whoa.
Right at the end.
Right at the end.
We made it 99.9% of the show.
LoreForged, we love you.
This is why we do shows live. Peace, love, and honeybees.
Safe travels, Lore Seekers.
Oh, I want to slap you right in the face.